Today, we're diving into the incredible 2,000-year story of London. It's a city that's been defined by constant change, absolute disaster, and somehow, this remarkable ability to be reborn.
And that brings up a really big question, doesn't it? How does a city survive plagues, fires, and wars for 2 whole millennia and not just survive, but actually thrive? Well, that's what this is all about. It's incredible resilience.
All right, so we're going to cover this epic history in 5 main parts. We'll start with its foundations under the Romans and Vikings. Then we'll jump into its time as a medieval powerhouse. After that, we'll look at its trial by fire and plague. Then its role as the heart of a massive empire. And finally, we'll see the modern, global city it's become today. So, let's get started.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning. Our story kicks off nearly 2,000 years ago, when an invading army showed up and basically laid the groundwork for everything that was to come.
So around 43 AD, the Romans set up a settlement they called Londinium. And you know what? Their choice of location was a total masterstroke. They picked this one spot on the River Thames that was perfect. It was narrow enough to build a bridge across, but still deep enough for big trading ships to sail right in from the sea.
But, London's early life was anything but stable. After the Romans packed up and left in the 5th century, the city was pretty much abandoned. Later on, some Anglo-Saxons settled nearby. But the real game changer? The constant Viking raids in the 9th century. They actually forced people to move back inside the safety of those old Roman walls, basically restarting the city and showing just how resilient it could be for the very first of many, many times.
So all of this constant rebuilding really set the stage for the next big era, where London started to grow into this fortified, really powerful medieval city.
Okay, the year 1066. This was a huge turning point. After he invaded England, William the Conqueror built the Tower of London. And his goal was simple: control the city, which was powerful and, honestly, pretty rebellious. This wasn't just some castle. Oh no. It was a massive statement. It was a fortress, a royal palace, and a prison, all designed to intimidate the people living there.
So what was it actually like to live there? Well, just try to imagine this. Crowded, super narrow streets with these tall wooden houses kind of leaning in over you. The famous London Bridge? It was so wide they actually built shops and houses right on top of it. But it was also incredibly dirty. I mean, with no real plumbing, people just threw their trash right into the streets. It was vibrant, it was busy, and yeah, it was a very smelly place to be.
Now, a really key part of London's economy back then were things called guilds. So what were they? Basically, they were these powerful organizations for people in the same business, like bakers or weavers. Think of them like a club for workers that set all the rules for quality and prices. They pretty much ran the entire city's economy.
All right, so London's resilience was about to face its biggest test yet, because in the 14th and 17th centuries, 2 completely separate catastrophes were about to strike the city and change it forever.
The first disaster was the Black Death, and this one number really says it all. In the mid-1300s, the plague wiped out an estimated 50% of London's population. Just think about that. Almost half the city, gone. It's almost impossible to even imagine the scale of a loss like that. And then, centuries later, in 1665, the plague came back with a vengeance. During this Great Plague, if you got sick, you were sealed inside your own home. A big red cross was painted on your door as a warning for everyone else to stay away. The city just became a place of fear and silence. And then, as if a plague wasn't bad enough, just 1 year later, fire. It started by accident in a small bakery on Pudding Lane. But strong winds just fanned the flames, and they leaped from one tightly packed wooden house to the next. The fire raged for 4 days and 4 nights. By the time it was all over, most of the old medieval city was just gone, burned to the ground.
But out of this total disaster came London's most important transformation. See, before the fire, London was a city of wood. But afterwards, new laws were passed that required buildings to be made of brick and stone. So the city that rose from the ashes was stronger and a lot safer than ever before. It was a true phoenix moment. And it was from those very ashes that London grew into the massive, powerful heart of the British Empire and the absolute center of the Industrial Revolution.
I mean, this era was just packed with incredible achievements. You had everything from Shakespeare's Globe Theatre to these iconic feats of Victorian engineering, like the world's first underground railway, what we now call the Tube.
Famous landmarks like Big Ben popped up, and London became the undisputed global hub for trade and finance.
And just look at this population boom. During the Tudor era, you had about 200,000 people living in London. Okay, now fast forward to the Victorian era, and that number exploded to over 6 million. This staggering growth was all fueled by new factories in the empire, and it completely changed the scale and the feel of the city.
All right, for our final chapter, let's look at how London faced the challenges of the 20th century to become the diverse global metropolis we all know today.
During World War II, London's resilience was tested yet again during what's known as the Blitz. This was a terrifying period of intense, nearly constant bombing by enemy planes. Huge parts of the city were destroyed, and people would spend their nights huddled together for safety in shelters, most famously deep down in the underground tube station.
Well, after the war, London had to be rebuilt all over again, and people came from all over the world to help. This included a huge number of people from the Caribbean, a group often called the Windrush generation. Their arrival really marked the beginning of London's transformation into a truly multicultural city, which is a huge part of its identity today. And the result of all that? A staggering level of diversity. I mean, today, it's estimated that over 300 different languages are spoken in London. It's a city where the entire world really does come together in one place. So, London today? It's defined by its futuristic skyline filled with glass skyscrapers, its role as a global hub for finance and tech, and as a world capital for art, fashion, and education. It's an absolute magnet for millions of people, drawing them in with this unique mix of ancient history and super modern energy.
So, when you think about it, from a small Roman fort to a global megacity, London has been destroyed and rebuilt time and time again. Its whole story is one of incredible resilience. Which leaves us with one final thought. After 2,000 years of ruin and rebirth, what do you think the next chapter of London's story is going to be?